little bunny. Happy Pride Month. I wish you a very liberating month if you're queer. And I wish you the courage to be yourself openly and freely. And if you need a little courage boost from me, you can listen to episode 4 of the podcast called Family You Find. I think it'll really help you be yourself and to maybe help you realize some of the hidden rewards to pushing people away who don't like who you are inside. So it's all about being who you want to be, and don't be afraid of what other people will think, because it actually will work in your favor in the end. So even if you're not a queer little bunny, this episode is still for you, because I want to talk about desire more broadly, especially lustful desire, and how lust as an emotion is really beautiful. So let's start by bringing to mind a lustful thought you have, which, let's say if it were revealed publicly, maybe to your family, they would all gasp in despair, and then you'd sulk in your room wishing you didn't have such unclean thoughts. Or maybe if you posted this desire online, people would rage in the comments and try to shame you. And then again, you go and sulk and feel unclean. Well, we're going to work on ridding these emotions. So I want you to find something you don't want to feel ashamed of, but you do because other people's voices carry so much power. And with that thought in mind, as always, we're going to start with a quote, and I'll send you off with a poem at the end. So the quote for this week is from a wonderful author who writes about love in a very real and modern way. Her name is Esther Perel, and this is from one of her books called Mating in Captivity. It's hard to experience desire when you're weighted down by concern. Not the most poetic quote of the podcast, but I chose it because I have a lot of respect for the author, and I trust that there's a lot of truth in this quote. She's very well qualified and very insightful. So let's go through the quote again. It's hard to experience desire when you're weighted down by concern. If I can leave you with just one idea from this podcast, it's that desire is a good thing. Lust is beautiful, and I invite you to embrace it and enjoy it freely. It's a wonderful and exciting feeling, and it's just such a shame to rob yourself of the joy it can bring. Just think about why, after a challenging day full of stress or boredom, we crave coming back home to watch a thrilling TV series. Something that gets our blood pumping, that actually makes us anxious, makes us nervous. On the surface, it makes no sense. But it's because we love intoxicating emotions. We love to be swept up in suspense and desire. It feels good, and it's natural, and it's wholesome. So when these same intoxicating emotions of desire appear naturally in our imagination in the form of lust, why should we feel any different? Think of the desire that you chose for this podcast, that lustful thought I made you have at the beginning. What is preventing you from enjoying it the same way you might enjoy a TV series? Think back to the quote. What concern is weighing you down, preventing you from experiencing the joy of desire? I'm guessing it has to do with other people judging you, other people disapproving, as though they themselves don't have their own desires that would be judged. Everyone has desires, little bunny. It's a truth that people love to just pretend doesn't exist, but everyone has desires. It's okay. So anyway, there's people who maybe are disapproving and they are judging you. And by the way, if you have a religious hang up about this stuff, maybe you're in a religious community or you have some religious beliefs that scare you about what thoughts you have, especially lustful thoughts. Like maybe you're worried about a divine punishment from the creator of the universe. That's pretty scary. Well, I don't really want to talk about religion in this podcast, but it's a really wonderful rite of passage to discover what you believe about the great secrets of the universe and explanations to things that are still eluded by science. I don't want to rob you of that journey, but I'll give you a little boost as we talk about maybe dispelling some fears you have from a religious point of view about lust. Just imagine someone walks up to you that you don't know and they say, I'm terrified of, pardon me, this is going to sound very irreverent, but forgive me. They say, I'm terrified of a magic alien that's reading my mind and watching me masturbate. Well, I don't think you would take them very seriously. And if maybe your parents or your grandparents are telling you something similar about a much more common religion, well, I encourage you to be just as skeptical. So that's all I'll say about religion. I hope you get to have your own discoveries and discover what you believe. And just as a little hint, I think it's quite unlikely, bordering on certainly impossible, that any kind of lustful desires you have are going to come back to bite you in some kind of supernatural way. So relax if you have those fears. Just let those go. It's just completely absurd. So bringing it back to pride, if you're a queer little bunny, I wish you the courage this month to be proud and open about your desires. They are wholesome desires. You are not unclean. Your lust is beautiful, and your love is even more so. And if you're struggling with fantasies you hold on the inside and you're not ready to share them, or maybe you don't ever want to share them, that's totally fine. This isn't a podcast or an episode about confessing everything in your head openly, but it is about letting go of these feelings of being unclean or embarrassed. So, little bunny, whatever lust you experience in your head, I give you permission to enjoy those thoughts. So I'll leave you with your poem right after we get through these announcements. First off, in the spirit of lust and in reaction to TikTok disapproving of lust altogether, that's okay, it's their platform. My locked audio this week is extremely spicy. It's for 18 and up only. It's in the locked section of the garden, also known as Patreon. And I think it's the best erotic audio I've ever made. It's 30 minutes long and it's titled Good Little Bunny's Spicy Reward. You can follow the link in the show notes as long as you meet the age requirement. Next up, the TikTok videos with the red lighting are still up on Instagram, at least most of them. And I'm sorry I had to make them private on TikTok. It's just what I've got to do to not be banned. So I'll be occasionally making those as Instagram exclusives. So be sure to follow me there. And I think that is it. So now let's slow back down. And I'll read you the poem I wrote for you today. Feeling wholesome while naked is a worthy goal to aspire, to indulge in good feelings, to unshackle your desires. It's innocent fun to enjoy the lustful thoughts in your head. I give you permission to engage in lustful touching in your bed. But since the world can be cruel, you may hide it if you must. But for me, be proud inside that you're one who sees beauty in lust. I wish you a great week, little bunny. I'm sending you lots and lots of real love. You know by now that I really do love you. So I'll be back for you next week. I'll be around. You can always send me an email, daddy@lindysgarden.com. Okay, little bunny.